Hello, welcome to Working Dragon Mystic, where we discuss real metaphysical and occult knowledge so that you can manifest real and tangible results in your life. This week, for our community live topic, we are going to be discussing spellcraft, more specifically, simple spellcraft, what it is and how this can actually help your practice. We do record these live at the Working Dragon Mystic community, and afterwards, I do take questions and have conversation about the topics with the community. If you want to join us in the live recording of these topics, consider joining the Working Dragon Mystic community. It's absolutely free to take part in these discussions. We do them every Monday. You can find links below or go to workingdragonmystic.com and just click the Working Dragon Mystic community tab, shoot you right on over. We'd love to have you. All right. Now with that, let's talk a little bit about spellcraft. First off, what is spellcraft? Believe it or not, this is something I have encountered. A lot of people do not know what the term spellcraft is in actual magical practice. Many of them think that it is a video game term or a D&D term. Though it does appear in those mediums, it is actually a term that predates those mediums. Spellcraft, simply at its core, is the construction and building of spells. Or in some cases, the understanding of them and the deconstruction to figure out how they're working. But that's more on the advanced side. We're going to talk on the simple side of things, right? And for those who don't know, what is a spell? I know this may sound stupid, but I feel it should be included here because I run into this question too. There are a lot of different views of spells. Some people will literally say that any prayer is a spell, and to some extent that is a true statement. But there is more to overall spellcraft than just a simple prayer. In fact, I would even go to say I personally do not consider prayer spellcraft. Okay, there's a reason for that. Okay, spellcraft is when you are literally doing something. You're putting something together, putting your will into it, putting your power into it, gathering ether and power from around you to put into that and release out into the multiverse to create a change or manifest something in your life. Now, you'll notice that entire example, I said you. Not Yahweh, not Odin, not Freya, not Loki, not Zeus, not Hercules, not Thor, not Osiris, not Cthulhu, not the flying spaghetti monster, right? You. To me, that is the dividing line. A prayer is a petition to another being in basic, simple, and in its simplest of terms, where they may or may not intervene in your favor, depending on your relationship. A spell is something you are doing, deliberately you are doing. It is your power, okay? I want to make that clear. Now, there are many, many definitions out there, and I understand that. There are many traditions of magic out there. So those traditions are going to use definitions closer to their tradition, much like the invocation, evocation video we did to clear up those two terms. For Working Dragon Mystic, we are going to stick to the older definition of spellcraft, okay? Just straight up, that's the one I stick to. That's the one I'm going to use here. So if you hear me using that term, now you know what I mean. All right? So we know it's about building a spell, and that's what we want to talk about. I can't count the number of people that I have met, and I'm guilty of this too when I first started my practice. They will buy book after book after book after book after book after book looking for spells and whatnot to make their life better and build their practice. I'll be honest, I have gotten rid of more than 75% of all the magical books I've purchased because most of them are just 101, same thing, written a different way books. And once you understand spellcraft, you can save yourself a lot of money. And a lot of time going down random holes on the internet too, because, well, when I started, we didn't have internet. The internet didn't even exist when I started. There's me dating myself. But you all do. So instead of money, you would have to sacrifice time, but still, same thing. You can save it either way, right? Now, there's a few things we need to consider when we are going to build a basic spell. First off, what's the spell for? In all honesty, what is it for? If you want a prosperity spell, okay, great. What you at that point, you're going to need to define the word prosperity. If it's for health, you're going to need to define what you mean by health. Okay. For me, if I do a health spell and it makes sure I got a healthy heart and all that, and I don't really define health, I mean, I'll admit a healthy heart spell's not going to do a lot for me, except maybe keep my heart healthy. Because for whatever reason, every time I go to a doctor, I'm healthy as a horse, at least in the heart department. Now, there are other areas that I would need help in, and those are the things that I would want to focus a health spell on. You want to try and refine it as much as you can. If health to you is overall health and longevity of life and quality of life, that's going to cover a lot of things, true. But if longevity and quality of life, those are all great, but you would also prefer to have some muscle, or maybe you'd like to drop a few pounds, and you're not going to be happy unless you drop a few pounds. You need to consider those things. You need to meditate on those, figure out exactly what the spell is for, truly, right? The next thing I would always have someone consider is, how soon do you need what you are doing the spell for? Okay, this does matter. So first off, magic will take the path of least resistance in no matter what. Okay. Secondly, the bigger the ask, the longer it will take. And you can play with these a little bit, true. The more ether, the more energy, the more focus, the more intent, the more will you can pour into a spell, you can take a time frame and shrink it. Now, to the best of my knowledge, most things will not be instantaneous, right? If you're looking for prosperity, there's a very good chance you're not going to be able to light a candle, do a spell. The moment the spell is over, check your bank account and you're Scrooge McDuck. It just ain't going to happen. If it does, cool, awesome. Now there are, I would say, scenarios, outliers where something like that might be plausible, but it's not going to be the norm. And when I say plausible, I'm talking about you go to the gas station on lottery day, you buy a ticket, you come home, they're about to announce the numbers in 30 minutes. You take 20 minutes to do the spell, 10 minutes later, you actually win, right? That is a very niche scenario. But even then, you still won't have access to the money immediately. And you can check out my prosperity series. We've talked about lottery magic is really a waste of energy, but that's another topic. So you need to know the time frame you're looking at, okay? And in general, this sucks, but it is also easier to do magic when you're not desperate. Ironically, especially for beginning practitioners, the more you need it, the more desperate you are, the harder it will be to manifest it. And that's because you have to be able to release that energy. You have to be able to let go of the issue. You have to let go of the problem. You have to let the ether go out there to do what it's going to do. And if you're desperate, you're always thinking about it. You're always dwelling on it, and you can't release the energy as easily. Sucks, but it's the nature of the beast, as it were. Of course, next, how driven are you to manifest what the spell is for, right? How driven are you? Are you actually driven to do it? Are you actually willing to put in time, effort, discipline, and all those things to it? A lot of people come to magic thinking that magic is a light switch solution for all life's problems. You just do a little spell, your problems are fixed. I'll be honest, if magic has taught me anything, it will complicate your life. Because the multiverse, the more capable you are of dealing with problems, the more problems it gives you to keep you growing, to keep you evolving, right? So, yeah, technically you have a much larger toolbox. It's a lot easier to overcome obstacles. But at the same time, most practitioners find more obstacles popping up. So you do need to know how driven you are when it comes to that. Next, items you want to use for the spell. Okay, this is a fun one here. There's a lot of incense smoke in here from a ritual I did earlier today. Sorry. People talk about spell components. They talk about you need this candle, this color, you need this herb or this incense, or you need this particular shell, this rock, this crystal. You need this piece of string. You don't need any of them if you really want to get down to it. You don't. That's not to say they don't serve a purpose. Every item you use for a spell helps to link your focus and your intent for that working toward its goal. Okay? If you don't have the components, it requires more willpower, more focus, more discipline. The items help anchor the ether without your discipline, without your will, without your effort, without your focus. It helps offset that, right? And let's be honest, most people starting out Magic, discipline, focus, those are things they're lacking. But those can be developed over time. Now, the number of items, I like to keep it simple. Personally speaking, the most items I try to use in any spell, an absolute max would be like 6. Absolute max. Okay. However, my go-to number is 3. I love 3. 3 is a good number for me. It's worked reliably through the years when I sucked at Magic, and now in my later years where I'm getting a good handle on it, one might say. 3 is still a rock solid number for me. These days, though, I am at that point where I do try to push the envelope and I try to do more and more spell work without items because that's something I'm drastically interested in. I don't like the concept of needing the items. So I'm trying to get away from them, but that takes effort, right? So we are working on that. But here's the thing. Don't go out. Don't go buy all these correspondence tables. Don't run out and buy. I personally, at one point, had 23 books of correspondence tables. 23. In fact, the very first book I ever purchased when I learned that Amazon existed, and this was back when all Amazon did was sell books, was a book on magician tables. And it was a damn expensive book. And in all irony, I haven't opened that book in 15 years. It's largely been a useless book. It's been a reference book. It's been interesting for research, but for my personal practice, it's been pretty much freaking useless. So how do you figure that out? Well, there is a concept in Magic. Some people refer to it as the voice of Magic. I've heard it called that. Some people call it intuition. Some people call it your gut. But what it's going to boil down to is you, right? And that's exactly what you need to look at. If you're doing prosperity, if I ask you right now, off the cuff, without thinking, without sitting there, without rolling it over, what color represents prosperity? That whatever popped in your head, that's where I want you. That's the color I want you to use for that spell. If it's red, use it. If it's Barbie pink, okay, I don't know why you like that color, but use it, right? Some people like Barbie pink, and some people can even make the color look good. I can't. But if that's your color, use it, right? If it's green, most people will say green. That's great. If it's metallic yellow, use that. If it's silver, use that. If it's gray, use that. I don't give a shit what the color is, use it. I once had a student, when I said, what color represents prosperity to you? Don't think about it, nothing, just shoot it. First thing comes to your mind, they said plaid. Okay, so we went with plaid. First off, they don't make plaid candles, just so y'all know. But I went with it. I worked within what he said. He done what I asked, and I'm going to work with him. That's what I did with it. So there are some strange colors that can pop up, but go with your gut on that if you're working with a color. Now, if you want to use a sigil, there's thousands of ways to construct sigils. My preferred method for most spell working is to simply write the phrase out, remove the vowels, or remove the consonants. I will do any variety thereof. Usually it's the vowels, to be honest with you. Then I remove duplicates and I construct a sigil out of the letters. Sometimes I will revert the phrase to the runic alphabet. Sometimes I won't. I've even reverted them to crossing the river and Theoben in the past. I've played around with it, had a lot of fun. In some cases, I even revert the phrase to a numeric and then build the sigil. you get to have fun building a sigil. You just got to build a sigil and it's got to feel right to you. There is no right way to build a sigil. Technically speaking, you could build your sigil off images. You don't even need words. You could build it off images. If a sigil to you that represents true growing prosperity is an acorn that you can grow into a mighty oak of prosperity, okay, use the image of an acorn and work around that. Maybe you want to put your prosperity phrase around that acorn. You can do it in English, you can do it in Spanish, you can do it in Runic, you can do it in a made up language if you want. You can do it in Klingon. I actually do know somebody who does all their spell work in Klingon. He even speaks it fluently. That's some weird stuff. But anyway, go with your gut on what you need. Don't get overcomplicated because every item helps anchor your focus, right? Here's the thing though. For every item that anchors your focus, you're also having to make sure you got more things in your work area. Now, one of the reasons a lot of people don't get results from high magic or ceremonial magic is there's so many bits and baubles, they can't focus on what they're doing to start with. So they're so overly distracted, they don't have the focus they need to get started. So they essentially hit the breaking point where they got so many items, they can't focus on squat. And if there's nothing to start with, which you're the starting point, the anchors end up doing nothing. So that's why I like that 3 to 6 limit, really. And when I say 6, just so we're clear on that, if I use 2 types of incense, that's 2 items. Incense doesn't count as an item. If I have dragon's blood and I have let's say frankincense, dragon's blood and frankincense, that's 2 items I'm using, right? If I use 2 crystals, that's 2 items. So crystals as a category does not count as one. Each individual crystal will count. That's how I count it. Same thing with candles. If I'm using 2 different candles for some reason, let's look at the transmutation spell I did. It's on my channel. I use 2 candles in that spell. That is 2 items. So you'll see in a lot of my spells, I try to stick very, very close to that 6 or less, and my preferred is 3. Unless I have a very distinct reason that I'm using certain items, certain representations, I'll try to go with 3. And then for those very specific ones, that's when I start adding on and I don't go past 6, if that makes sense. Hoping I'm making sense here. All right. Next thing I want to ask, and this kind of ties in with how driven you are you doing things to help create pathways for this manifestation? Okay. Now we just said all magic will take the path of least resistance. Now, there are people who's going to say, well, if it's magic, it should be able to pound through a rock wall. Technically, that's true. And if you put enough power and focus on it, technically, that's true. Magic will find a way if you put enough juice to it. It absolutely will. However, in the process of finding a way, it may also upheave your life, flip it over and roll you down a hill, and then roll a dump truck over you. Because there wasn't a clear path, so it basically had to go wrecking ball on your life to make one. But hey, you got what you want. You know that old phrase, be careful what you ask, might just get it. Yeah. But you can do 2 things by actually actively working to create paths for your magic. First off, helps you avoid wrecking ball situations. Those are always nice. Avoiding those are nice. Secondly, it allows any spell you do to do more and more efficiently if you're actively working to open those pathways in your life. Get creative here. If you're trying to find a job, don't do a spell for a job and sit at home playing video games 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. You don't want to do that because no one knows you're looking for a job. And even if they hear about it, it's just not good. You need to be out there actively doing interviews, putting in apps, giving the spell something to latch on to. And I have seen spells work in the video game situation. I know a guy who did a spell for spell work. And he sat at home, he played video games, and he kept doing spell work. He kept doing it. And he did get a job. He did get a job. Someone his dad knew talked to this guy who talked to that guy, and they got him a job. And he promised he'd take any job that was offered. He took it. And, well, now he can't walk because that job was in a very hazardous environment. He did take it. It paid what he needed. It met all the details of the spell work he did, and he ended up getting injured. So again, wrecking ball scenario, right? It is possible. I'm not saying it's not possible. Drake didn't say if you're not opening pathways, it's impossible for spells to work. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying if you're creating those pathways, A, it helps you avoid wrecking ball scenarios, and B, it allows for more powerful and more efficient manifestation of your goals. Okay? That's what I'm saying. So when you're creating a spell, also look at what you're doing to create those pathways. And if you're not doing anything, while you're working on the spell, while you're creating it, think about what you can do to open pathways for the spell. By doing so, not only are you going to create those pathways, but you're tying the creation of the spell to the actions that you're going to be doing. This has a unique ability, okay? Because now not only are you crafting a spell that you're going to do, but you're also mentally aware that you're going to be doing these actions after you do the spell to help open pathways. The cool thing here is you actually create an etherical feedback loop. So all the energy of the spell that you pour into that spell, when you do the spell and release it, it goes out there. It's gone out in the ether. It's doing what it's doing, but it's getting regular etherical dividend payments from your actions too, making it stronger as you go through your actions, making pathways for it. And those pathways make it naturally more efficient anyway. So it starts exponentially working in your favor, which is something I absolutely love. Okay. The next question I always ask myself for a spell. Should this spell be long-term multiple working spell or single working spell or short-term spell? Depends. Okay. For wealth spells, you all know I like long-term spells. I like long-term spells that I can do once a week, once a month, something like that. Many of you who took my magical yearly planning workshop, you know I set my planning up yearly. I set my planning up by half of the years, then I set my planning quarterly, then monthly, weekly, and then I have stuff that I do. There's some stuff I do daily, but those aren't really priority things to my life. Those are more like my daily meditations and stuff. Okay, so you want to answer that question. Now, at the same time, let's say I get the flu. A lot of people notice I don't get sick that often. And honestly, since I've been taking better care of myself, I've been using Magick to improve my health. I've even avoided that once a year, long drawn out 3 months cough that I used to get. Anybody who's been following my channel for years, you know the one I'm talking about. Especially if you attended the live streams. Now, for health, when I'm feeling under the weather or something, I do quick spells. My favorite one is to Golder, do a runic Golder spell of Uruz while I'm in the shower. I crank the heat, get that hot, steamy shower flowing. I'm taking in deep, deep breaths, as deep as I can, as I intone Uruz in the shower. Luckily, my wife knows this. I actually made the mistake of doing this once when I was visiting family, and they was like, "What the hell were you doing in there?" It's like, I was Goldering. And they're like, "What kind of kinky shit is that?" And then I had to explain to Golder because they clearly went the wrong direction. But that's my family for you. But I explained it to them, and they're like, "Oh, why not just take cough syrup?" It's like, don't work as good. So you want to figure that out. And for something like health, I love short spells, like for cold, flu, body aches, the COVID. I think we're allowed to say that on YouTube when this post. If not, oh well, screw it. I don't care. At my community, I can say COVID. I was doing spell work for people when they had COVID. I did a little spell work for me when I had it. I'll be honest, I kind of enjoyed it. I slept really good when I had COVID. I had it like once, I think. I kind of enjoyed it. But that was me. To each their own, right? So figure it out, because things like that, yeah, I absolutely going to do a short one. Kitchen magic, I don't want to do long-term spell work most of the time. You're going to, however long it takes me to make the meal, that's how long the spell's going to take. Okay, so if I'm making a quick chili, I can make a quick chili in 30 minutes or less. Is it a long simmer chili? No, that's why it's called a quick chili. So don't hit me up with times on chilies here. However, if I'm smoking a brisket, a nice long 18, 20-hour smoke, I got some time to put some ether into some stuff. I can have some fun with that, right? Same thing if I'm doing a pork shoulder, right? If you're doing burgers, again, that's a quick cook. You can still do a lot of great kitchen magic with that. Making your coffee in the morning. Even the slowest method of making coffee doesn't take that long. So, you know, you can kitchen magic, you go with the cook time is essentially where we're going with that. Um, and then how much time do you have? Like, are you preparing for an interview that you know is coming 2 weeks from now? Well, now you know you got 2 weeks to prep for this. You could do several workings building up and leading up to this. Did you suddenly score a interview and you're out mowing the grass and you can make the interview? It's in 4 hours. You just got to shower and get your butt over there. Okay, you got 4 hours. Well, hopefully it don't take you 4 hours to shower. But if you can shower, get in the car and go, or if you can shower, do the spell and go, a shorter spell might help. You see what I'm saying when I say time frames, right? All right. All this goes together as part of the spell and understanding it. But you need to understand the world you're in. You need to understand you. Think of those 28 laws of magic when we talk about, I think it's the first one, is know thyself. Um, you need to understand what resonates with you. Okay. You need to understand your strengths. You need to understand your weaknesses. Is visualization hard for you? If visualization is hard for you, then when it comes to any visualization aspect of a spell, you know that's not a strong point. So you may want to use an image, a sigil, something to help anchor your visualization to give you a physical thing to look at, right? That's why candle gazing spells are so potent. Even if it's just a flame that you're envisioning the item in, it still gives you a physical item to focus on. That's one of the simplest. Creating your own sigil, you get to put more into it. You get to put more detail. It has more meaning to you, and it's still that physical image, right? Okay. Then there is, certain smells and certain scents. Like I love dragon's blood incense. It's my go-to incense. I use it for practically everything. However, I do got a friend who has actually gotten an essential oil that he adds to his oil diffuser in his ritual room. And I'm not sure the oil he's using. I'm going to have to ask, but when he diffuses it, it smells like freaking dollar bills. Like whatever that is, and when it diffuses, it smells like money. And some of you kids may not even know what a dollar bill smells like because you've been using plastic your whole life. But for those who've ever had to carry dollars around and you know that distinct dollar bill smell, that's really what it reminds me of. Either that or like a musty library, the Dewey Decimal libraries. And I thought that was a pretty cool concept. So he's kicking in that olfactory gland, which scent is one of your most powerful memory triggers. So, but you want to figure those out. If you want to include a crystal, you want to charge a crystal or a stone, pick the one that says prosperity to you. Now, caveat here, because I did say go with your gut, go with the first thing pops in your mind. When it comes to stones and prosperity, I know a lot of people will jump to diamond, gold, and those are expensive. Those are expensive. In the chance you can't grab yourself a gold doubloon or get yourself a diamond, because if you're doing prosperity magic, let's be honest, we probably ain't buying gold bars or diamonds. Find a suitable stand-in. Use coinage, use color. Find something that you can use a stand-in. You could even go on Amazon and buy Halloween gold coins that are dirt cheap, like $5, and put a little pot of gold on your altar that would work. It's going to give you the same physical symbolism there. Heck, I know people who's worked with Expoon well using chocolate gold coins. They're just little discs of chocolate wrapped in gold foil, right? So get creative. If what pops in your mind immediately is something you can't afford, troubleshoot, problem solve, look for a way that you can get that to work. Okay. All these little things are going to go together. And here's the thing, when you sit down, when you go, I mean, honestly, there's your checklist. What's the spell for? How soon do you need it? How driven are you? What are the items you want to use in the spell? Are you doing things to create pathways? And should it be a long-term or short-term spell? That's your checklist. Now, when you go through this checklist for your spells, you will notice you will get better results from any spell you put together as opposed to one you find in a book or one you find online or one you find in an internet. That's not to say those spells are useless. That's not to say that, because they can give you a starting point, and they can, many spells are tried and true. Like when I post a spell, it's one that I've used. I've got colleagues who's used it. It's been tried. It's true. It works relatively efficiently for everyone. I still will say that if you can get that spell that I post to work, if it's working good for you, if you make adjustments, if you customize it and build your own, I truly believe you will get better results than that one, because it's something that you are a part of. It's part of you. It's built around your personality, your insight, your gut feelings. That will naturally give you a better result. Okay. And you can get creative. You can mix and match, have a lot of fun. You could literally go in and make you some little finger sandwiches or full on hoagie. Build that entire sandwich around your goal, whether it's better grades, memory retention for school, or whatever. And on your lunch break, you build your sandwich. You go into your working area. You sit down. You light the incense. You put 2 crystals out there, maybe a candle lit. And you sit down and you focus on your working area. You focus on the spell. Every bit of your focus is entirely on better study habits, better memory retention, better testing abilities. And you can sit and have your lunch. You've made a sandwich using kitchen witchery around that concept. You've took that sandwich, added it into a spell working / ritual at your work area, that you're already putting that energy out into that spell working ritual you did, but you're also imbibing the energy entirely through that. That is a method of spell working, and you're layering it, and it's a creative little use of it. There's a lot of people, they will charge their water. Please, just point of notice, do not go dropping random rocks in your water or crystals. There's a lot of them that are toxic. There's a lot of them that are water soluble. Don't go poisoning yourself. With water, I would honestly, or beverages, I would only use food grade things first off, if I'm putting anything in there. And secondly, for my beverages, I usually prefer to just charge the liquid. Now, if I know green tea, like green tea is supposed to help with weight loss, health, well-being, de-stressors, like it's known for these things, medically, scientifically, and all those. Green tea would be a great herb to add to your water for those things when you're also going to etherically charge it. I do not, under any circumstances, condone dropping random metals, rocks, or other things into your beverage, because, yeah, a lot of them are not safe. This is not, I'm sorry. But get creative. Do some research on the items you're using. Have fun with it. And you can do it with, get your senses involved. If you're someone who likes candles in your house, scented candles, consider how you can turn those scented candles into spells that push toward your goals every time you light that candle at night or in the morning, whenever you light your candles. Consider doing a scented candle to put right on your desk while you study for enhancing your studies. I'm hoping this is making sense. Spellcraft is not as complicated as everybody wants you to think. It really isn't. It is as simple as figuring out what something means to you. You're putting your intent into it. You putting the actions out there. You charging that ether and releasing it. Okay. Now, there are a couple other things I would add here. When we are doing it, a lot of people always ask, should I burn the sigil or keep the sigil? Should I burn the candle entirely or should I put the candle out? There's all these different thought processes. For me, if I'm trying to release something, if I'm trying to get rid of something, I find burning it works best for me because I'm destroying it, right? I'm getting rid of it. That's not to say that burning is always destroying. I also like if I'm releasing a large amount of energy out into the ether to manifest something. I also like burning because I can pour all that ether into the item, and the burning is the releasing mechanism, right? However, if I'm trying to draw something to me like a magnet, I'm trying to pull it to me. I don't like to destroy the thing. I like to make it. I like to push all the energy in there, like a sigil, and stick it somewhere in my house or in my work area, or even in my wallet to draw that thing to me. Okay, if it's something to empower me specifically, like a charm or something, I will carry that with me. Maybe you're going to charge a ring or something for better health or better study so that when you wear it, it's there with you. Consider those aspects. What makes sense to you? Does it make sense to keep it or burn it? In the prosperity spell on my channel, we do a long-term spell. We blow the candle out. When I blow the candle out in that spell, I tell you to blow your intentions into it. So you're pushing further ether into the candle when you blow it out. So not only have you released all that ether to grow prosperity out from you already, the candle itself is also becoming kind of a talisman that you keep, and it also pulls prosperity to you, right? And yes, eventually that candle is going to burn all the way down, but then at that point you just get another candle. So look at the symbolism, and does the symbolism make sense to you? Because if you're doing something symbolically and it makes absolutely no sense, in fact, it seems completely ass over backwards to you, it probably is. Your subconscious is not going to be able to grab a hold of it. It has to make sense to you. Okay? Ask yourself when you're designing your spells, does this make sense to me? Not the internet, not your buddy Bubba, not Barbara Jean, not me, not anyone else. Does it make sense to you? All right. Now, with that said, if you have actually crafted any of your own spells, I would love to hear what they are and hear some of your results. If you're watching this, you've never tried crafting a spell or anything, give it a shot. And I'd love to hear, whether it's in the community or on YouTube or Rumble when this is posted, what did you do? How did you build it? Now, there's nothing wrong with talking to friends and colleagues and maybe getting inspiration and things you can tweak. I do it all the time. I have a lot of people in the community will ask me questions. I think they have some great spells. A lot of times I have nothing to tweak. Sometimes they'll be, it didn't work quite the way I was wanting, and I'll suggest one or two things for them to consider trying. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. Spellcraft can be a team sport if we want it to be, but when you're doing the spell, ultimately it has to make sense to you. It's like I tell people when I give them any suggestions, it's like, if that makes sense. I sometimes think I annoy people with how often I use the phrase, if that makes sense. Part of that reason is if what I said does not make sense to you, it ain't going to help. It's not going to help. Don't go just do something because I told you to do it. It has to make sense to you. Okay. Hope this has helped a little bit with the understanding of spellcraft and remove some of the fog and mystery away from it. Because in all honesty, it is a lot of fun. It is something is very enjoyable to me to play around with and tinker with on the regular basis. It really is. Spellcraft can be a great hobby. And you can work to improve spells that you get success with, and trial and error. It's a lot of fun. I'm somebody who always likes to be tinkering with something. So when it comes to spellcraft, it's one of the areas that I love to tinker with. If you enjoyed this, leave us a like. If you haven't already, subscribe to the channel, whether it be on YouTube or Rumble. And if you found us on YouTube or Rumble, join us over at the Working Dragon Mystic community. We have a lot of great conversations, a lot of wonderful people over there. We do regular topics. You will see any topic or video weeks ahead of the channels. And also, we do have a supporter area with supporter only content, access to our online our workshops, classes, and supporter only live streams where you can literally come in and ask me anything, and I'll do my best to help you in any way I can. All right. Until next time, everyone, I am Drake. This has been Working Dragon Mystic. Take care. Bye bye.